Hey folks, this is going to be a bit of a different video because this isn't necessarily Nintendo, but I also don't want to say that this is like an outside the box episode because this is really about a topic that I think is going to be inescapable this week. It's already come up on live streams yesterday and probably the live stream tonight and the Q&A on Wednesday and in several comments on many videos. And that is the unfortunate event that happened in Jacksonville. If you're not aware of what occurred, it appears that someone who was playing in a Madden 19 tournament, a qualifying tournament, lost and was eliminated in the first round. I think it was a round-robin tournament, so he needed 2 losses, and so he lost back-to-back. And the following day, as the tournament was continuing, because it was a 2-day event, he decided to open fire, and it was a mass shooting. One of many that have happened in this country. For those who aren't aware, I'm from the United States, born and raised. We don't have a lot of these events happening in my area per se, but I live within driving distance of places like Milwaukee and Chicago that have shootings almost on the daily, it feels like. So I'm not completely immune to this kind of stuff happening, and I think the more and more it happens in the U.S., the more and more we almost expect it to happen. But this hits close to home for many reasons. And I'm not going to say the name of the supposed shooter, the supposed killer, who apparently committed suicide as well, because I don't believe in giving attention to the individual who committed the acts. In fact, if I had the names of the victims, I would probably be, putting their names out there instead, because they're the ones that deserve to be recognized and remembered in a time like this, not the person who committed the evil act. At the time of recording this, I'm aware of at least 3 people who have been killed, 11 who have been wounded, 9 of which were direct gunshot wounds, the other 2 of which are unknown injuries, could just be trying to run away and escape and falling or what have you. Several of the 9 people who were shot are in critical condition, so the death count could even go higher. And it's just quite shocking to hear of this, because I don't know how many of you guys know this. I used to actually be a competitive Madden player. For years and years of my life, I played Madden competitively. It was never really a full-time gig for me. I didn't really make a ton of money doing it. I did participate in cash money tournaments, and I'm not here to talk about how amazing I was at Madden or how much I failed at Madden trying to be a competitive gamer. None of that really matters. But this hits close to home for me because I've been to tournaments in places, like Jacksonville and Baltimore and Milwaukee and Minneapolis and Chicago. I've been to Madden tournaments, and while I have not played competitive Madden for over 6 years, it could have been me. Now, I'm not here to play some imaginary victim card, but the reality is it could have been me. It could have been you. Are you a competitive Smash player? What if this happens at EVO? Heck, it could be worse. The crowd could be even bigger at EVO. There's a lot to be said about this event and my thoughts and my feelings on it, but the biggest takeaway I have is that we can't be... The media is trying to spread a narrative that this is representative of what the gaming community fosters. Yes, there is toxicity in gaming. There's toxicity in everything. There's toxicity in the pizza industry. There's toxicity in the police force. There's toxicity in our schools. It's everywhere. It's not just a gaming problem. It's an everywhere problem. But toxicity and the issues we have as gamers and the way we butt heads does not inherently make us killers. And I want this to be stated very clearly. Games do not kill people. People kill people. And I know someone's going to say, that's what people who defend guns say. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, it's true. People kill people. Gun is a tool. It is a tool that needs to be better regulated. It is a tool that, if I had it my way, would be completely banned in the United States. No one would be allowed to own a firearm. And in the case of, I live in Wisconsin, so deer hunting is a big thing. In the case of hunting, especially like deer populations, to keep them down so they don't overrun the state, yes, you could run government-funded rental programs to allow hunters to continue to hunt, where they can rent out guns for the hunting season or bow and arrows for the hunting season, that kind of stuff. And I understand that it's protected and it has to do with the Constitution and amendments, and I get it. It's our rights as Americans to own a firearm, and I'm just over it all. I think we have proven collectively as a society that more harm is coming from firearms being owned by the public than good. Are we really going to rise up against the government? Are we really going to rise up and revolt like the original amendment was merely meant to be there for, so we could rise up against the government and not have them overlord over us? Are we really going to do that? No. No, we're not. At least not in my lifetime, I don't think. We don't need to own those firearms. I don't care if it's just a side pistol. I don't care if it's an automatic weapon. We don't need to own them. They serve no purpose other than to potentially put more people in danger's way. Now, this doesn't solve the overall issue in general. We have a mental health issue in the United States. I think there's a mental health issue the world over. But in the United States in particular, we do a very poor job dealing with mental health. And I can say this as someone who is the son of a parent who was a social worker for over 40 years, and, well, not 40, over 30 years, and has a fiance who also works in the social work field. There's a lot of defunding going on. There's a lot of lack of importance put on people who can't take care of themselves. And there's a lot of, pretty much a lack of any way to tell whether there are mental issues with youth. A lot of it is left to parents. Parents who are scared when their kids act certain ways. Parents who don't know what to do, have tried everything they can think of, or they're in denial. My kid would never be that way. They don't pay attention to the media that the kid consumes. And I'm not saying that the media, including gaming, doesn't have an influence, but it doesn't make them killers. They already have something messed up in their head that allows stuff to influence them in the way that it's okay to kill. And that is what we need to combat. The story being spun out there by many mainstream media, and I'm not going to name any of them by name, you can Google it and see this story everywhere, is that gaming causes violence. Beyond that, competitive gaming causes violence. Guys, this happened at a Madden 19 tournament and was a horrible act committed by a Madden 19 competitor. While we could talk all day about how the NFL is kind of sort of a violent sport, even as they add all these new rules and try to make it less violent, which makes it a little bit less entertaining in my opinion, it's not built on trying to kill people. You're tackling them and trying to get into the end zone. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that as an idea for a sport. The issue I have is that now we're taking an esport, a virtualized version of this, and saying Madden 19, competitive Madden 19 caused this person to commit this act. No. Heck, I guess I'm almost thankful as a gamer that this didn't happen at a Call of Duty event. Can you imagine what the headlines would be if this was a competitive Call of Duty or a competitive Halo or a competitive shooting anything event and this happened? Can you imagine what the headlines would be? But it happened at a Madden event. And I think this goes to prove, along with the numerous amounts of research, that video games don't cause violent behavior. Violent behavior is inherent within the person, within their mental state. And yes, they might be more likely to play violent video games if they're in that mental state. But that mental state is the entire purpose of the violence. We are not doing enough to combat those mental states. And as, Clean Prince Gaming said in a video he put out before I even started recording this one, he put out a video saying that gaming's not the problem. And I agree. I don't think video games are the problem. I'm not saying there's not games out there that are not abhorrent. There was a game the other day that I saw on a forum that was going up on Steam Early Access that had to do with creating those camps from the World War II era and actually gassing people. Real world events that are part of history, but done in a way where the player gets to choose to gas people. That's a problem. That's not okay. but a fictional universe where you have people running around with guns and going pew pew, bang, headshot, all that stuff. It's nothing like the real world. You can't train to be able to shoot a gun in a video game. It's just not possible. You don't get the feedback. Even HD Rumble on Nintendo Switch, that's not anything close to firing a gun. I have fired a gun at a range before. Holy crap, is it like scary. It's powerful. It's a lot of kick. You hurt your shoulder, especially if you're using a bigger weapon or an automatic weapon. Even just using a handgun. It's not what people think it is. And I'm almost at a loss for words because this is one of the worst events, if not the worst event to happen in video game history, and definitely the worst event to happen in competitive video game history. And this is a community where we have seen that people who don't like a certain streamer will SWAT them, and the SWAT team will sometimes accidentally kill the person because they were given false information and were entering in ready to shoot because of a situation they thought was occurring, whether it was kidnapping or whether it was rape or whether it was, any number of things that were thrown out there to convince them to send a SWAT team to a person's house who just happens to be live streaming. This is even worse than that. Because those things we can pass off as, oh, that's just some sick, sadistic people on the internet. This is not sick, sadistic people on the internet. This is a real-world event at a real-world tournament where someone who appeared disconnected and disjointed from the world committed this act. The people who beat him in the tournament, there were a couple people who knocked him out, noted that the demeanor of the person who committed this act was, wearing the sunglasses, which is not, it's a common thing that you do in, you see it in, the World Series of Poker and in competitive esports, because you're trying not to give away anything with your eyes, whether any sort of tinge of emotion you might have in your eye. But even after the match, the guy wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't shake hands. And being disappointed in the loss is one thing, but not even communicating at all, looking dead inside, essentially. In hindsight, that's a sign. That's a sign that something's not quite right up here, whether it's depression, whatever it is. I can't pretend to know. But I just know that that's a sign. I've seen people like that just appear dead inside, and my first reaction is, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? Do you need to talk to someone? Do you need to talk to me? And it's just, if there's anything I want you guys to get out of this video, it's to have a healthy conversation about not so much the political side of gun violence and politics, but in terms of helping shape people's minds. Gaming is not the cause of this incident. I firmly believe it's mental health that is the cause of it. Mental health that parents and professionals are failing to deal with, that government officials might be failing to deal with, that we do not have the budget to properly assess. And heck, obviously when it comes to gun laws, there's a lot more that needs to be done. I'm not sure really how to end a video like this. I guess go down in the comments below and let me know what you think of this absolute tragedy of an event. I'm sure I rambled at some point in this video, but or the entire video. I'm sorry. I'll just see you guys in the next one.